If you can start, just let us know your name, where you live, and what you do.
I'm Vicki Garcia, and I live in Washington State, and I'm a full-time coach.
Awesome. So can you talk about like what was your life like a bit before joining Rhonda's life coaching program?
So I had a full-time career in the pharmaceutical industry. I did drug research, and I was not very happy with it. I want to explain why, though. Um, I was happy with the work I did. I was not happy with the environment, and I wasn't happy with who I needed to be in order to be successful in that environment. Um, I always tell people you kind of have to be aggressive to be a woman in science and to move up the ladder. It's really competitive, and people will take you down to try to get your spot or to take credit for your work. It can be tough. And that's not the side of myself that I wanted to grow and nurture. I knew that I wanted to be softer and kinder. I am very direct, and without any, I'll just say without good emotional intelligence, I could just bulldoze people. So I was looking for something else. I was always really interested in the people side of things, like managing people, developing people. But my superiors at my jobs were not as interested in that. They just wanted output, just get your work done. And I don't really want to talk to you about how to develop somebody's career. So long story short, finding Rhonda's program and eventually joining the life coach certification program brought everything together for me, because I could work on developing myself and the qualities that I wanted. And it's all about developing other people. So it was the perfect situation for me, just a win-win.
Awesome. And was there like a specific moment, maybe a specific low point moment where you just realized like, I got to get out of this pharmacy job?
Almost daily. There was just, it was just one thing after another. I would say it wasn't necessarily one moment, but an ongoing situation with my boss's boss, who didn't like me very much because I like to do my own thing and make my own decisions, and I'm kind of direct, and I won't necessarily back down. And she didn't like that very much, that I had my own thoughts about how to do my job. And we really had conflict. And I, at that point, didn't have the communication skills to handle it well. So I really didn't handle it well. And it became a really, really big problem for me. Like on the daily, I kind of thought I was going to get fired.
So it sounds like it was like just you butting heads with your boss's boss every single day.
Constantly. And even though I was good at my job, my boss and I got along great. I got, great reviews from her. When it would be time for my boss's boss to sign off on it, she would mark me down. She would give me lower ratings because she and I had conflict, not based on how I did my job. And I just didn't handle it well. I didn't know how to.
Awesome. And so you're in your pharmacy job, and every day it's conflict and tough and kind of making you this person you don't want to be. And so how'd you come to life coaching is the answer?
Yeah, I had been searching for a long time. I didn't know what I was looking for, but I was looking for something. And it just so happens that I was pregnant. And when I went on maternity leave right before I gave birth, I had all this time at home and I was watching TV. And I happened to see Rhonda on Starting Over. And at that point, I had never even heard of a life coach, had no clue. But I was fascinated because it was all about people and people developing themselves and growing. Um, and after watching that show and being like really immersed in it, I looked up one of her coaches and hired a coach and started working on my own stuff. And it blew my mind. It really blew my mind. And I realized, oh, you know what? This is what I've been looking for myself personally. And then after working with the coach, I realized, maybe this is actually what I've been looking for professionally. Maybe I could be a coach.
Was there a specific moment that stands out when you thought maybe I should be a coach?
No, it was really seeing step by step how I was having awarenesses about myself and then having the coach help me use that to make actual changes, to take action in my life, and realizing, oh, you know what? Like, it's not even that hard. It's scary, but it's really not that hard to do, to make these changes. And it just occurred to me, this could be the perfect solution for both my personal growth and then changing careers.
Awesome. And you talk about working with the coach blowing your mind. Do you have a specific example of what that was, what that looked like?
There were a lot of them. um, the concept of when you have conflict with somebody else, basically reflecting it back onto yourself because you don't have control over anyone else. Like, I could complain all day about, this other person, yet that's not going to change anything. But if I look at myself, how I respond to the other person, how I communicate, the stories that I might be making up, all of that I do have control over. And I realized right away, oh, I could actually change this situation. And she doesn't have to even know anything about it. I can change me. I can change how I'm showing up. So it was just a huge awareness that I have complete control over what's going on in my life. And I really didn't know that before.
And were you able to apply that at work or in other areas?
Yes, every day I practiced it. Coaches, at least fearless living coaches, will give you tools and assign you homework so that you start to learn how to apply the tools. And so I did daily. I was applying the different tools that she was giving me and seeing that I just had more peace of mind. I felt more confidence. I wasn't frustrated and angry every day. Like, it was really making a difference.
And did it help with those conflicts with your boss's boss?
Yeah, because I learned how to communicate better. I learned how to not antagonize her, um, which I think I kind of did, out of frustration and honestly, just I was really getting to the point where I think I almost wanted her to fire me. Um, and I was really pushing her buttons intentionally, but I realized that it was causing me anxiety and just feeling horrible at work every day. So, in order for me to feel better, all I had to do was change how I spoke to her, what I chose to say versus what I chose to keep to myself. And, I was able to show up to work and feel relaxed and not anxious and frustrated every day. Just do my job.
All right, awesome. So yeah, you had these insights into basically you're in control of these relationships and how you show up and what they look like, and getting these positive results. And then you sounds like you just decided like, okay, I want to help other people make the same kind of transformation I made.
Yeah. Yep. And I thought I owe it to myself to at least explore this further. You know, it can't hurt to take some steps and look into it. Um, so I did.
And was there other options, like were there other life coaching courses you were looking into, or either other career paths you were looking into at the same time?
I I was definitely looking, but I hadn't found anything else that really intrigued me. Once I decided I was going to consider uh, getting certified, I did look into other coaching schools. I did my research and looked at several of the bigger schools at the time, the more I guess the more well-known schools, and kept coming back to Fearless Living because it's based on fear and everybody has it. And it just made sense to me versus some of the other methodologies that were taught at the other schools.
Okay, yeah. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? Like, what was it about Fearless Living that made you go with them? Like, was it just they talk about fear, no one else does, or was there more to it?
It really was that they talk about fear and that everybody has fear. And I figure, you know, I learned through Fearless Living that fear is generally at the root of most of the problems that we have in our life. And I all of the other programs felt, how do I explain it? They felt very technical in kind of a cold way. Here's the ABC methodology you're going to learn and follow. And Fearless Living is about the person, like really deeply about each individual person, which is always what made me excited, is learning about other people and helping people grow and develop themselves. And I just felt like Fearless Living did that versus just learning how to ask a bunch of coaching questions.
Awesome. And when exactly did you join the coaching program?
That was in 2006 or 2007, maybe late 2006.
Okay, cool. And what was it like to get started with it?
Scary. It was really scary. I was excited and I had no idea what I was getting myself into. And I mean, it was just completely new for me. So yeah, it was scary.
Like what specifically scared you? Do you remember?
Yeah. I had, well, a lot of things scared me, but I had, you know, a 4-year degree in biology that I worked my tail off to get and pay for myself. I had a career where I made really good money, and I was looking at giving all of that up. And my fear and other people were telling me, you are insane. Why would you do that? Why on earth would you do that? Um, so yeah, it was, I had a lot of doubt about whether it was a smart idea. I had fears around the cost, you know, the investment and paying for that, and then having it turn out to not be a good idea. Um, and I really had doubts about my ability to be a good coach. I had no idea, like, am I going to be able to do this or not? So there, yeah, there was a lot of fear.
Awesome. And was there a moment when you started to realize like, oh, I think I really made the right decision here?
not a moment, and I think this might be typical for people going through the coaching program, is that just over time, you start to realize how much more, you're personally embodying the work. Going through the coaching program gets this stuff into your bones in a way that I feel like you can't do by simply studying it on your own. So it really started to help me more personally. And I was just able to use everything that I learned at my job. I was using it daily on a deeper level than I was when I was working with a coach. You just get really, really immersed in the work of fearless living. And then next thing you know, it's like it's permeating every part of your life in a good way.
Oh, there's so many different follow-ups swirling in my head right now. I'm just like, which rabbit hole to go down?
Yep.
Let's see.
It's like being a coach.
And okay, so it sounds like it was, when you talk about like really ingraining it into your bones this way, like what was it like when you're actually performing, when you're doing the coaching, like is that what really gets you to see it and live it more, or was it like the mentoring help you had, or what was it exactly?
Yeah, it's the mentoring and getting feedback on not only how you're showing up as an individual, but how you're doing as a coach. And yes, coaching other people really brings everything to light. It brings all of your fear up. And then, and it's a good thing, because then you can make a choice. Once you understand, oh, this is fear, and this is something that's maybe been hidden from me, now you have a choice. It just makes you more aware. So yeah, every time I worked with a client, or maybe, I would say especially the times when I was struggling with a client, when I had a lot of self-doubt, um, my mentor would point point some little simple thing out to me, but it would blow my mind, and it would bring up an awareness about just my own view of the world that I didn't know I had. So it's like it's kind of cliche, but it's like peeling an onion. You just get a little thin piece and another and another and another, and it really is kind of mind-blowing when you realize how much you don't actually know about your own process, or I should say me, not you, how much I didn't know about myself.
Can you think of an example of a time you were struggling with a client, your mentor helped you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she said one thing to me that I will never forget. I felt like she had punched me in the stomach. It was crazy. I was really worried about uh, that I was going to screw up my client. Oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm just so afraid I'm going to screw up my client. What if I say the wrong thing? And I was really in a panic. And she said, "Wow, you must be really powerful." I, I literally felt like she punched me in the stomach. It was like this mixture of immediate awareness. I was embarrassed. I had like instant like humility. I mean, it did so much. That one sentence it blew my mind. And I was able to look at all the other places in my life where, oh, I'm like pretending that I have control over things that I actually don't. I'm taking responsibility for things that aren't mine. And I'm making up stories that are all bad. Like it was really, really a powerful moment. And then she and I continued to work with that the whole rest of the time I was in the program.
That's fantastic. And like you talked about, you saw all these other areas where you were pretending you had control, where you really didn't. You were taking responsibility. Like, do you have an example of what those were?
Just with other people, just, you know, other people and situations, and, you know, really learning like why I was always trying to be in control. You know, it's a fear response. It's, um, and we don't, you know, we don't actually have control over much. Um, but it helped me for a while feel secure, I guess, pretending that I did have control over things outside of myself. Like somehow I'm going to cause my client to do something and I'm suddenly going to ruin their lives. Like that's not how coaching works. So it was a big lesson.
I love that. And and what were some of the skills that you learned through the program that really stuck out?
Hmm. Listening, really listening, not waiting for the other person to finish so I can talk, but actually being present. Um, I think it's something that most of us don't know how to do. And in this program, you are taught daily how to be present and how to know when you aren't. And then within that, listening, um, and using my intuition when I'm coaching, and honestly when I'm speaking with someone else, instead of always thinking. I'm a thinker. I like to think and figure things out. And one of the biggest things I learned is that um, you can't solve all problems by thinking. Sometimes you need to be. You need to be and listen to yourself and get out of your head. And that was a big, big deal for me. And it was one of the hardest things for me to do as a beginning coach, is to get out of my head, stop thinking, stop trying to control everything, and just be there. I don't know if I answered your question.
You absolutely did. And
Okay.
do you have an example of how you applied that, either in your coaching session or like out in the world? Let's go with in a coaching session.
Spending some time before getting on a coaching call to make sure that I'm present, that I'm not in my head worrying, that I'm not trying to pre-plan everything that I'm going to say. Again, control everything. You don't, when you're coaching and you're a good coach, you're not controlling anything. There is no controlling anything. You are in the moment. So it was really practicing, you know, learning how to get myself centered, and the ways that I could tell, okay, I'm ready and I am present. And then practicing techniques for getting myself re-grounded if during a coaching session I got in my head and started thinking. And you learn all of that.
That's fantastic. Are there any other skills that stand out that were really helpful?
There's, oh my gosh, there's lots. Um, one of the primary skills that we learn that's not, I really don't know that this is taught anywhere else, is seeing other people's innocence. and it can be really challenging. It's challenging sometimes in a coaching session, but for me, using it just in my everyday life, when something happens, I'm dealing with another person, maybe another person who's behaving badly, is the ability to see people's innocence. That is life-changing, both personally and as a coach, to have that skill. It's a big deal.
How so? Could you tell me more about that?
It'll change every interaction you have with every person. It's when you stop making negative assumptions about people's motivations and you look at them like they're innocent and they're doing the best they can, it really changes the whole story that you weave in your head about everything. Someone cutting you off in traffic, if you're focused on seeing their innocence, you can see 100 different reasons that they might have cut you off instead of, well, he's a jerk or he's selfish. I mean, it just opens up your world to be able to see other people's innocence and helps you have a little more compassion for yourself and seeing your own.
Awesome. And how is that helpful with clients specifically?
Sometimes clients will bring situations to a coaching session that maybe they trigger me as a coach, or maybe like as a person, like I personally don't agree with it, or I think it's, not ethical or moral. If I came into a coaching session with that stance, I wouldn't really be able to effectively coach. Yet, if I can see the person's innocence, then I can actually be there with the person, not be in my head, not make any judgments, not have any preconceived ideas about who they are, or what they're doing, or what they're thinking. It really opens you up to just be present with a human being without all the extra stuff.
Awesome. And does anything stand out as like an early result you got for a client that was like, oh, wow, I'm actually good at this kind of thing?
I have to admit, I didn't think that I was a good coach for a really long time. Way after I graduated. When I graduated, I still thought I was like quite possibly the worst coach ever. I was getting results and I had a really challenging time owning them, owning that I had something to do with my clients' success. I'll say one of the first ones that stood out for me was a client who had her own business that was pretty successful, and she was miserable. She just didn't want to do it. The truth that we uncovered was, I don't even want this business. Helping her get to the point where she could admit to herself that she didn't love running her business, which was a big deal. And then admitting it to her fiance, which was a really big deal. And then admitting that what she actually wanted to do was go work for her dad in his business. And all of this, was uncovered over probably 3 months or so. And her fiance had been engaged for a long time, and he wouldn't set a date for the wedding. And what came out after we worked through all this is that he was worried because she seemed so unhappy and kind of unstable because of her business situation, And so once she was able to admit to herself and everybody else she didn't want to run her business, she closed her business. She went to work for her dad, was way happier, very content. Her fiance was like, "Oh, okay, this is what was going on." So they actually set a date, and now they're married. She's totally happy working in marketing for her dad. They have a couple of kids. Like it really changed her whole life. Her being able to admit to what she wanted and what she didn't want. That's one of the first ones that really stands out for me, where I thought, oh, I did a good job. Like I helped her figure this out.
That's super cool. Was that was that someone you had during the program, or was that later?
No, it was after. Yeah, it was after.
Like about how long after, do you remember?
Probably within about the first year after I graduated.
Awesome. And after, how'd you make that transition from, I'm assuming you were still working full time while you were in the
Yeah.
wealth coaching program?
Yeah, I was. Do you mean how did I transition away from my full-time job?
Yeah. How are you able to make that yeah, exactly.
So I had a plan for, I wanted to make a certain amount of money before I quit my job. And I was putting out there to the universe over and over and over that I really just wanted to be laid off from my job. And I was laid off from my job, and it was the second time that I had been laid off from that same company. And I got a really nice severance package that enabled me to, build my business while having some full-time pay. So I kind of lucked out, and I haven't looked back.
And how did you get clients?
When I first started out, I got clients by attending regular networking events. I did in-person networking and did it very consistently, and went to multiple groups a month, and really just learned how to talk about myself as a coach and talk about what I do. And that's really where I practiced just all of it, all the business building stuff, looking at, oh, well, when I say this, people's eyes glaze over. And when I say this, people actually look interested and ask me questions. So it was just a lot of in-person chatting with people about what I do and learning from that.
Awesome. And can you tell me a little bit about like the wheel of fear? Like how did learning that, we can start with how did it impact you, and then how's it been helpful in your coaching?
So Wheel of Fear impacted me. It was, again, kind of mind-blowing. I know I keep saying that, but it really is. It helped me understand, oh, there's not anything wrong with me. It's that I'm listening to what fear is telling me instead of doing what's right for me. Um, so it's just amazing awareness to see that, oh, this isn't me, this is my fear. And understanding the difference. Oh, this is me, this is fear. It's part of me, but it's not all of me. So the parts of me that I wanted to hide from other people, the times that I thought, I'm not good enough, which is what everybody thinks, that it's all fear. Like none of it's real. So it's both empowering, and I went through, I'll say, a brief moment of feeling kind of angry that I didn't know this before, and sad, and like, what the hell? Why didn't anyone tell me this? And then going, oh, but this is so empowering, because now I understand it. Now I understand like my responses, the times when I behave in a way that I'm not proud of, Like, I get why I'm doing it. And again, it's the seeing your own innocence, understanding, oh, this is just my process in fear. This is how I respond in fear. And I have other options. I don't have to.
So it sounds like having that awareness over, oh, this is just fear, this is part of my process, helps you like separate yourself from it and make another choice. Is that?
Yeah, it's exactly. It helps you have a choice. I feel like that's one of the biggest things that fearless living gives you. Choice. That's really what it's all about. I feel like so often people don't know that they have a choice. And this really does give you choice in every single situation. It's very empowering when you realize, oh, I'm not at the mercy of whatever is thrown at me. I have choices.
Is there any like highlight moments that stand out for when you were able to sort of realize and apply that?
I think realizing that one of my primary fear responses used to be to shut down and back away. So, especially with close relationships, I used to always think, oh my God, nobody gets me. I am so misunderstood. And I don't understand why I don't have these like close relationships that I want to have. And through looking at Wheel of Fear, I was like, oh, well, it's because every time I get even a little bit uncomfortable in a relationship, I run or just shut down. And so understanding that I have a different choice, I don't have to shut down, I don't have to run. What I could do instead is show more of me, like be there and let people know who I am. That's the only way people are not going to misunderstand me, is if I show them who I am. So that was a really, really big deal for me.
Shoot, I just had another question and I had lost it.
You'll remember
Um,
it.
okay, well, yeah, let's just go with and what about using the Wheel with Fear with clients? How's that been?
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing. Like, there are just some clients who go, oh my goodness, this brings everything together. It's like the missing piece of understanding who you are and being able to forgive yourself for past behavior or things that you're not proud of, and embrace who you think you're not. um, I think it's really easy for us to focus on, well, I wish I was this. I wish I was more this. I wish I had this quality. And through doing, Wheel of Fear and Wheel of Freedom, it starts to become apparent that, oh, maybe I do actually have those things that I wish I had. It's a matter of learning how to bring them out and see it and utilize it.
Awesome. Um, and so your goal was to like was your goal? It sounds like initially become a full-time life coach, and
Mhm.
I know you got the severance package to like help with that. But when did you hit a point where you were like, okay, like this, you're not just like relying on severance money. You're actually like, this is your career.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
financially stable and all that stuff.
I honestly, it goes up and down. Like, it's not, and I just feel like this is true for so many coaches, that unless you get very specific with who you're targeting and how you help them, it's going to be really hard to have what you said, like a stable, predictable income. And in the beginning, I did not do that. I was consistent in networking, yet I didn't really know exactly who I wanted to work with. And so I went through a long period of I feel like I've always had a relatively steady stream of clients simply because I put myself out there, yet maybe not the predictable income, which is what everyone wants. Like, I need to know I'm making this much money every month. And I'm still learning how to do that. I'm still learning how to get specific and use those specifics consistently. Right now, all of my clients come to me through referral, either from past clients, current clients, or other coaches, which is really nice. And I still need the marketing side.
And how does like your day-to-day compare now that you're a full-time life coach versus what you had before when you're going to work
Oh
through
my
your
gosh. It doesn't. It's so different. It's so different. I set my hours. I decide, what I'm going to work on in a given day, how many hours I'm going to work, how many clients I have, how much I'm going to charge, what other projects I'm going to work on. The flexibility for me is the best part. I can take my daughter to school and start my coaching day after I drop her off. I finish when she comes in the door. I don't have to work after work or weekends. Lots of coaches do work in the evenings and on the weekends. I decided after I got to the point where I was coaching full time, I'm not going to work on the weekends. I'm not going to take coaching clients in the evening. That's family time. So the flexibility to do what I want when I want and charge how much I want is huge. And also, it's an opportunity to continue to learn about myself. I feel like that is something I didn't get in the corporate environment because they just weren't interested. And I get to decide that this is about my clients and it's also about me growing as a person and being responsible for what I'm doing every day. Like, it's just a different level of responsibility. No one tells me in the morning what I need to get done today. No one says, hey, your lunch break is over. It's all me, which is good and bad.
Awesome. Yeah. And is there a specific like highlight moment when you're just like, oh, this is such a better life than the one I had before?
Yeah. I really feel that every day. I'm super, super grateful for Fearless Living, for the training I got. I'm still really active in the community and having the support and the accountability with that community. I'm so grateful for it. I mean, truly, on a daily basis, I'm like, I can't believe that I get to get up and do this every day, every morning, and decide for myself when I'm going to take clients, or if I have something going on and I need to move things around in my calendar, I can do that. Yeah, it's a daily, on a daily basis. I am deeply grateful that I'm not getting up and going to a job where somebody else is going to decide what my day looks like.
That's fantastic. And so I just want to go through like the timeline a little bit. So you joined in 2006, and then when did you get laid off?
After I graduated, terrible memory. I probably got laid off in 2010, maybe 2009. Yeah, maybe around 2009. And I graduated in 2008.
Okay, so graduated 2008, laid off 2009. And did your income ever hit what it was when you had that job, or is it?
No, have, I think part of being successful for yourself as a coach is understanding what you want your business to look like. I wanted flexibility. I had I had a new baby. I didn't want to have like 30 clients. So it has been what I want it to be. And there have been times when it hasn't been. There are ups and downs. But for my goal for how many clients I want, I'm good. There are other things I could do to either get more clients or offer different types of services. And I haven't been interested in it. I really love one-on-one coaching. There's only so many clients that you can take and still be an effective coach. And I know what my limit is, and I stay there. I want to be a good coach, and I want to make money, and I want to have flexibility. So it's balancing all of those things.
Awesome. How many coaches or how many clients do you have right now?
Right now, I probably have about 10. I've had up to probably 20, and I think that's definitely a cap for me. I think I prefer maybe like 12 to 15.
Okay, awesome. And do you mind sharing your hourly rate?
I don't sell one-off coaching packages by the hour, but if you calculated it hourly, it'd be about $200.
Awesome. Let's see. And what's next for you? Is there anything you're looking to do in the next year or two?
I would like to do more speaking. I've always done a little bit of speaking in my practice, but I'd like to do more. And I would like to experiment with some marketing by niching down a little bit and yeah, doing some actual online marketing and seeing how that works for me.
Awesome. And okay, so after you were laid off in 2009, like were there any other big milestones you hit between them and then now?
Um, what do you mean by milestones?
Like maybe like getting your 10th client was a big deal, or other things that you're like, goals that you set for yourself in your business that you hit in
Hmm.
that time?
This is going to sound funny, um, but when I was a new coach, all I could think about was the day I could, that I had enough clients and had coached enough clients that I would have to use some way of keeping track of who they were. In the beginning, I had like 5 clients. I knew all their names, and I knew when they were scheduled, and I knew exactly what we talked about last week. Like I just could keep it in my head. And my goal was like, God, I can't wait for the day when I need some other way to keep track of all my clients. So yes, the day I was like, I have no idea what we talked about last week. Who is this again? Like, wait, I really need to get myself present. That was a milestone where I was like, oh my God, I actually can't just keep it all in my brain. I know, I told you it was silly.
I love that. I want so many clients, I can't remember
That's right.
them. Okay. And when you're going through the program, the coaching program, was there any, like, what was the hardest part? Was there any point that you wanted to quit or give up, and how'd you get through it?
Many, 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 many times. It's scary. It is scary for most people. Um, I doubted more times than I can tell you, and thought, I don't know why I'm doing this. I suck at this. I don't know if I'm going to be able to graduate. I should probably just quit now. And that's really common. It's challenging. This program is no joke. It's challenging. It's going to challenge you personally. It's going to challenge you as a coach. And what I didn't get at the time, and most don't, is that everybody thinks they're a terrible coach. Everybody thinks they should quit. Everybody thinks, I don't think I can do this. And then next thing you know, you've done it. So it's an amazing lesson in not listening to your fear. Listen to your mentor. Pay attention to the results your clients get, and don't listen to what's going on in your head.
And yeah, so and you talked about even after you graduated, you still felt like you were a bad coach. What was it that finally made it click that like, no, I'm good at that? Was it exactly that of realizing that was fear and just looking at your clients' results?
Yeah. Paying attention to my clients and asking them, what are you getting out of this? What are you getting out of coaching? What did you get out of this session? And listening. Oh, every single time they're able to tell me this thing they're taking away. And then over time, watching my clients be able to do things they didn't know they could do, like, I really do have something to do with that. It was, I think I got confused about understanding that I'm having an influence on what my client is doing versus me saying, well, I worked with this person 3 months ago and today they got promoted, therefore that's because of me. I was thinking it was stuff like that, and I wasn't willing to like claim that. Yet the reason the person got promoted is because we just spent 3 months on them and their communication skills, their ability to show up as themselves, their confidence level. So I had a hard time making that connection for myself. And when I started realizing, oh, okay, I really do need to claim some of the success that my clients are having because it helps with my confidence. And then I'm an even better coach. But it did take me a while to be able to make that connection.
Awesome. And how long on average do clients stay with you?
That's such a, I always stumble over this question. I'm going to say on average about 2 years. It's pretty rare for me to have a client buy one package from me and then not anymore. They might take a little break, but generally people do continuous coaching, maybe less frequently, like instead of weekly, it might be bi-weekly or monthly. But most of my clients stay connected with me and doing some kind of coaching for a few years.
That's fantastic.
I'm really, a lot of coaches don't, I shouldn't say a lot, some coaches don't want to do long-term coaching with people. That's my sweet spot. Developing a relationship with somebody, like really a meaningful relationship with people, that's the part that I love. And so for me, it's kind of course, we're going to keep working together. We have this this relationship. They trust me to share their life with me. And a lot of them don't have anyone else where they can just be 100% honest and get honest feedback on work situations, or yeah, I feel like we really develop deep trust, and I feel like people don't always have that. And so that's my theory for why people stick around. Like, we really have a deep, meaningful relationship. It's not a business transaction to me.
I love that. So, what would you say is the most rewarding part of what you do?
That it's a win-win, that I am helping people every day become more of who they're meant to be. And at the same time, I'm becoming more of who I'm meant to be because of them. So it's just this amazing win-win situation. I can't think of anything that would be better. It keeps me on my toes. It keeps me always working on myself.
Awesome. And like, since graduating the program, is there any, like, how have you grown yourself from this work that really stands out? Is there any
Yeah.
big things?
Yeah. Um, Even though I've been doing this work for, I don't know, 12 years or more, a big sticking point for me was just being visible, being willing to be at the front of the room, being willing to have an opinion and to say it before someone else did, just like being willing to go first, and really letting people see who I am. And for the last, I'll say maybe the last 4 years, I've been very actively working on that. That's been like my primary, it's been one of my primary goals. And I'm more active now than I ever have been in the fly community. I run calls, facilitate trainings, um, speak at the retreat, run workshops. I mean, I've really gotten out there, and not just within the fearless living community, but the larger uh, global coaching community, and volunteering to join groups and actually being active in those groups, rather than lurking and not saying anything. But really getting out there and having a voice and letting people see me and hear me. That's been a huge change.
Awesome. How many, like, sounds like you've been doing a fair bit of speaking. Like, how many events have you spoken at?
I couldn't even tell you. I've done a lot of speaking. I can't say that I'm doing a lot of it right now. It's mostly online groups, like facilitating groups, or taking part in groups.
So speaking, like, kind of like group calls.
Yeah, a lot of it's online now. I do want to do some actual in-person speaking events. I used to speak much more regularly, and but I lived in the Bay Area in California, and it was, I'll just say, easier to find networking and therefore speaking opportunities versus where I am right now in Washington State. Where I live, I would have to probably go to Seattle. And I've kind of been like, I don't so much want to do that. So I'm doing a lot more online.
All right, great. Yeah, and is there anything else you want to share from your journey with the program?
I just think if you're at all called to do it, just do it. It doesn't, at least in my opinion, even if you don't know that you want to build a coaching practice, learning how to coach is going to, you can use it anywhere. You can use it with your family. You're going to use the skills everywhere. You can use it at your full-time job. It's just really, really useful, even if you don't want to run a full-time coaching practice.
Can you give an example of how it's been helpful with your family?
Oh, yeah. My communication skills, understanding, again, understanding how do I respond in fear versus how do I respond in freedom. When you're having an argument with your spouse and you respond in fear, it doesn't generally work out well. And now I can choose. Oh, all right, I'm uncomfortable. I might even be angry, but I'm not going to walk away. I'm not going to shut down. I'm actually going to stay present and speak what's true for me instead of running. And learning how to be present with somebody and see their innocence and ask questions rather than making statements. That is an amazing skill for anybody.
Can you tell me more about that? It's an amazing skill.
If you've ever been in a situation where you're having maybe a disagreement with somebody, or even just you're irritated and you're having a conversation, me being able to get out of my head about what you're saying and actually see you as a person and see your innocence, and then have the skill to be able to not make assumptions about what you mean when you say something to me, but to ask you, to be able to be present enough to ask you, oh, you just said this, and I'm curious, what do you mean by that? Instead of, oh my God, he's saying that I'm this, or I mean, it's just an amazing, useful skill to be able to be present and ask meaningful questions instead of making assumptions and shutting down or making statements. I was really good at making statements. You blah 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 blah. Yeah, that's it's kind of embarrassing to think about how I used to communicate. And now the skill of being able to slow down, get out of my head, be with the person I'm talking to, and ask thoughtful questions instead of just blabbing, you know?
Awesome. And we are out of time. And I know you said you were busy. Do you have time for one more question, or should we just
Sure.
go?
No,
Okay.
sure.
Yeah, I just wanted, if you had any like clear examples, maybe with your daughter, of how this kind of communication has helped, like, maybe an example of like what you would have done in the past versus what you're doing now using these skills.
Yeah. In the past, I would have made, and I still do sometimes, so I just want to be really clear, like, when you become a coach, you're not suddenly perfect at everything. So it's not how it works, but you have a different level of awareness. So what I used to do was, like I said, a lot of direct statements. And what I might have said to my daughter in the past was like, you should XYZ, you should do this, or you should not do that. And now what I can do is actually be present with her and ask her to tell me, what do you think that you should do in this situation? What works for you? What might happen if you did this? What might happen if you did that? Rather than being directive, actually teaching her that she has the ability to think for herself and that she knows what's right. I don't need to tell her. I might need to guide her by asking her those questions, but I don't need to tell her. Did that answer your question?
Absolutely. And what impact has that had on your relationship?
She's more willing as a teen to talk to me. Teens don't want to be told what to do. They don't want to be told what to think. And the more I can just be present with her and respect that she has her own brain, she can make decisions. She's just willing to talk to me, when I can just be present and not have judgments, not judge everything she says, and not panic about everything she says. Just be with her and let her speak and let her have her thoughts and her mind and her feelings, instead of me, judging it. It's extremely helpful in interpersonal relationships.
Fantastic. All right. That's everything. Thank you
All
very
right.
much.
You're welcome. Thank you. I hope you get something usable.
Yeah. I've got way more than I could possibly use. So that's always the goal. And yeah, so this is going to be really good. I'm excited.
Awesome. Well, it was nice to meet you.
You too. All right. Have a good day.
Bye.